RP North Carolina celebrating National Veterans and Military Families Month by highlighting local nonprofits that are serving those that served. And today we're very happy to have with us Brooke Dickhart, who has founded the Joel Fund. Welcome, Brooke. How are you?
Hey, Scott. Thank you so much for having me.
Now, you started the Joel Fund about 5 or 6 years ago. Tell us about the background of what led you to establish this support community and a little bit about the function of the Joel Fund.
Absolutely. So I started the Joel Fund in honor of my dad. He was a Navy SEAL for 20 years. He served 4 tours in Vietnam on SEAL Team 2, and then he was also an original member of SEAL Team 6. In 2014, he passed away after a long battle with PTSD and substance abuse and depression. And I started the Joel Fund because I just felt a loss as to how to help him when he was going through everything. And we wanted to be able to offer services to help other families of veterans so they didn't have to go through what we went through. And so our mission is to reconnect veterans to life at home. And we use the power of community to encourage, educate, and engage veterans and their families.
It's wonderful. Now, you say you provide service to veterans, but you also are serving active service members, the veterans, and also their immediate families, which I find useful because it's not just the service members who serve, it's their families and support system that also bear the burden of long stints overseas and things.
Absolutely.
How did your experience of growing up in the family of an active military member shape your understanding of that support that's needed for the health and well-being of the entire family unit?
My childhood was a little different than a typical military family child or children's experience. I didn't move around a lot. My dad was the one who traveled all the time. So from that aspect, it's a little different. But the similarity of having a parent gone a lot from deployment and that sort of thing, I did experience. And so it gives me an understanding of what that is like. And I don't think I quite understood how it impacted my life as a child or a teenager. But as an adult looking back, I'm really able to pull from that experience to help me to help the Joel Fund. And it provides guidance with how we connect people to services.
And what were some of the first activities or projects, or when you started the Joel Fund, what did you look, what problems were you trying to solve, or people were you trying to help?
When we first got started, I just wanted to be a resource connection. That was something that I had always wished we had had help with. When you're in a crisis or if you're in a stressful situation, or even if you're not, it can be very difficult finding the services that work for you and finding reputable organizations that follow through, that say they're going to do what they say they're going to do. And so we decided that we were going to be that connection. If someone came to us and said, okay, I need help paying a bill, or I want to go back to school, what does that process look like for me? We wanted to be able to offer the connection to those services. We weren't offering those services. We were just providing that connection. We built relationships with the organizations so that we knew if that organization was reliable. And then if we didn't know the organization, we knew who to reach out to send the family member or the service member to, we knew who to reach out to get the answers that we needed.
Now, how have your programs expanded over the years?
Wow. we kind of have our hands in a lot of different things right now. So we still do the resource connection. That's still a huge part of what we do. We are active with NC Serves, which is an even broader network across our state that connects veterans, family members, active duty, National Guard, reserves, to services all across the country, really. But NC Serves focuses on our state. So we're still a big part of all of that. We have Operation Art, which was another program we started in honor of my dad, because my dad used art to heal, and I went to an art school growing up. So a connection to art was something we always shared, because my mom would always say to me, well, you get that from your dad. You get that talent from your dad. So with him being gone so much, it was nice to have that. So we have art, we have drawing, painting, woodworking, photography, writing classes. We're getting ready, and starting early next year, we're going to launch sculpture and metalworks. Outside of our Operation Art, we have Operation Furnish and Operation Wellness, which are resiliency programs to help veterans coming out of homelessness. So we take in donated furniture items. It can be even just sheets, towels. Well, not really sheets. I shouldn't say sheets. We take towels and plates and cups and silverware, and we will give those to veterans. Couches, kitchen tables, bed frames, dressers, all of that kind of stuff. We work very closely with the HUD-VASH program at the VA, and Volunteers of America, which has the federal funding to help veterans coming out of homelessness. So we will work with those veterans that are being placed into their permanent residence and get them the furnishings that they need. Operation Wellness is our produce box program, also yoga classes for veterans. But when a veteran's coming out of homelessness, we like to get them started with some fresh produce. It's delivered to them a couple of times a month. Those two programs really took off this past year. So those are relatively new for us.
You mentioned this past year and the changes that we've all faced on that. Obviously, the pandemic impacted the people that you serve. It also impacted, most likely, you as a startup nonprofit. What are some of the things that you had to shift on and scramble for, or barriers to overcome? And was there any silver linings in the pandemic in terms of what you're able to do?
Yes, absolutely. As most people experienced, we had to make some very quick changes. A lot of the veterans we work with for certain programs are working through mental illness or other mental struggles. And so the pandemic was not a good thing, because isolation is not good for anyone. And so we were very fortunate to get set up with a Zoom room right away, and we pivoted all of our programs to a virtual platform. But we still wanted to create a sense of community and make sure that was still at the forefront. So we went through a lot of mentoring with our instructors, and trying to really make sure that they still created this community aspect to the classes and our other programs, which is hard to do virtually. But it ended up being our silver lining story, because we were able to reach more veterans in rural communities, veterans across the state. We have veterans and their family members from 6 states now taking our art classes. So that is our silver lining. We were able to reach more people because of the online platform.
Yeah, I think a lot of people experience the same kind of things. It's fortunately, it's not been all bad. So even though we tire of our Zoom meetings and such, they are useful for expanding that service. Now, you mentioned a number of organizations that you liaise with. Can you kind of, off the top of your head, talk about the different other nonprofit groups that you interact with to partner to provide better service for the veterans and their families?
Well, through NC Serves, NC Serves looks at 6 major buckets, the social determinants of health. So a lot of the organizations that we work with fall into those buckets, and it can be benefits navigation or financial needs, social enrichment. Now, of course, I'm going to blank on what they all are. but there's organizations that fill all of these buckets. And so we have relationships with most of them in our area, because that's been part of the work that we've been doing with NC Serves. And so it allows us to have these relationships, or a loose term of partnership, but enough to where I can pick up the phone or send an email or go right through the NC Serves network and say, I have a veteran who needs this. Please, can you help this veteran? If not, they let me know and I go on to the next provider. But it can be, like Volunteers of America is a great one that we do a lot with. Oh my gosh, again, I'm just going to completely blank on everything now that I'm on the spot. So I apologize, but we've worked with Dress for Success and, working with AARP. We were a part of, developing the proclamation that the governor just announced for North Carolina being a veteran-friendly state. So there's all these amazing organizations that are working hard to serve this community, and we're just fortunate enough to have relationships with so many of them.
Very good. And North Carolina being such a military state with a number of major bases here, I find that many military families return to retire here in Carolinas, and many of them are here in the Triangle area as well. So that's very good that you've got a tie-in there. Fortunately, the efforts in the Middle East and Afghanistan have now greatly wound down, and most of the troops are back from there. How has that, what has that meant for the demand of your services and the types of things you provide, and what are you seeing from the effect of that return upon your organization?
The immediate effect that we saw was just a struggle with understanding. A lot of the men and women we work with just couldn't comprehend what they were seeing. So what we did right away is got groups together. So we started, we pulled together the Afghanistan veterans, but we also pulled in the Vietnam veterans. I think that there's a lot of similarities there, and the Vietnam veterans were able to offer some insight, words of wisdom. They lived through it. They were able to share their experiences. Even though the experiences are not identical, there's still a level of understanding that not every veteran has. And so we went to our coffee events. So we did one in person immediately after everything happened in Afghanistan, and then we did a virtual one also. And the emotions were running high. And I think that for our services moving forward with these men and women coming home, I think, one of the things that's going to be very important is how their transition goes as they come out of the military. Making sure that they have the transition services that they need, whether it's employment or, relocating or going to school or whatever it may look like, for them to know that there are organizations like NC Serves that can connect them to those, to the things that they need as they're transitioning out. And so I think that is going to be the next big hurdle is what does that look like for them after seeing everything that they've seen and going through everything they've gone through, just letting them know that we're here, that we can help, and we can connect them to the other individuals and organizations that can provide additional assistance.
It's so important. And, maybe we did learn something from the Vietnam Wars that we need to continue to support the service people after they come back. That was so sorely lacking back in the 70s and 80s. What do you feel is your biggest need from your support community? What is it that you need to continue to grow and thrive as a service provider?
One of the biggest things is just telling people that we're here. We're still a very small nonprofit, but this year, just since the beginning of 2021, we grew 300% over the number of veterans that we served last year. We served 1,100 veterans this year in and around the Triangle. So continuing to share with others who have a veteran or a service member in their life to let them know that we are here and we're here to help is one of the biggest needs that we have. On a local level, we need donated furniture. We need people who are moving or cleaning out to reach out to us and let us know that they have something and we can arrange a pickup. We also, we need donations for our produce boxes and for our art classes. So Those are things, financial donations, because the produce that we send, I mean, produce we all know is expensive. So we want to make sure that we're giving them healthy options. It's mind, body, and spirit. You know, you want everything to be healthy for these individuals, and it all ties together. So by helping them with the nutritious food options, it really helps with their mental stability, also their mental well-being. So having donations, financial donations to put towards our produce boxes is also a huge assistance that we need.
And I'll take this opportunity to ask our producer, Pax, to perhaps scroll the website, your web address for the Joel Fund across the marker, so people can look at your organization and be able to contact you through the contact information there.
Thank you.
What about in terms of human resources, people resources? What types of skill set? I mean, I haven't met a volunteer organization yet that doesn't need quality volunteers in there. What kind of skill sets are you looking for people to volunteer in?
You know, really just someone who I say we're serving those who served us. I mean, someone who wants to give back to this community. You know, we delivering produce boxes or helping to deliver furniture. Those are interacting with those individuals when we do those deliveries is sometimes the highlight of their day. Sometimes they don't get visited by anyone else. And someone, you know, we look for volunteers who can take a minute or two and have a conversation with these men and women. Um, Sometimes they just want to be heard. Sometimes they want to share a story. And there's so many times where they're not heard. So giving them that space to share a story is, I think, powerful. So we look for volunteers who are open to that and don't mind, you know, taking a few minutes extra to just be generous and share that moment with the veteran.
One of your, and I'm not certain what year you added in your art classes and your I don't know, training or things in woodworking and such. I think that is fantastic, and the ability to go virtual on that just expands it so much. You had mentioned a couple things you're looking to add there. Do you have resources lined up to begin those, or are you looking for skilled people that can assist in those types of training operations?
Yes, so we do have some opportunities lined up for the. So we do the woodworking it's called the Maker Space in Raleigh. So the woodworking, the metalworks, and the sculpture will be in-person classes. That we've been the sculpture will be here at the Joel Fund. We have a world-renowned sculptor. He's incredible. He's out of Charlotte. He'll be coming to teach workshops. The metalworking facility is here in Raleigh. So those are, but I will also add that if someone has something that they would like to bring to the community, to the veteran community, military community, please reach out to us through our website and tell us, say, hey, I can teach this class. I would love to teach this class. And we would love to hear the ideas. I mean, we're always looking for something new and different to bring to our veterans and their families.
And you might want to go ahead and mention the cost of these programs to the veterans.
Yes,
I think
that
it's
is
phenomenal.
Thank you. So when we first started this, we wanted it to be free, but that unfortunately, we needed people. We ask $25 for a 6-week class. That's enough to get people to commit, and that's what we want. You know, we want someone to say, "I want to be a part of this. I'm going to be there every week," and because it's beneficial for them and the others in the class. So for $25, they can take a class. Our classes are typically about 3 hours a week, 1 day a week. For photography, our writing classes are about an hour and a half. Drawing and painting are 3 hours. But we provide the supplies. We do not provide a camera. Unless you're local, we have cameras that we can lend out. But the drawing and painting and the woodworking and the metalworks, we don't want there to be any barriers for these classes. So we provide all of those supplies for them for the $25. And we do also have a scholarship fund. So if the $25 is just not something they're comfortable with, then we can offer a scholarship. And that's another way people can help out if they want to to donate towards the scholarship fund for our art classes.
That's phenomenal. That's superb on that. You've been doing this now for 5 or 6 years. Do you feel comfortable sharing some of the feedback that you've gotten from the families that have gone through your programs?
Absolutely. I'll share a story, a couple of stories. I was talking about sometimes just, being there to listen and that sort of thing. But we delivered produce for a gentleman and then we paid his electric bill. And we got a message from him stating that the kindness that he received through all of this went how far it's gone in his family. He was just diagnosed with cancer in his spine, and he said, it's just been a really rough time for him and his family. And so he said that the kindness that he experienced from working with us put smiles on their faces in a time where it was very difficult to smile. That's what he said to us. And then another very recent veteran, just down on his luck, one thing after another with his family and his own health. We were connected to someone or through Veterans Bridge Home in Charlotte, who had some tickets to a Panthers game for veterans, and they were going to do to honor them during the Veterans Day week. And so we were able to have him go to Charlotte and go to a Panthers game. And he sent me a message and he said, I've been so down on my luck. My morale has been very low. And this experience was exactly what I needed in a really tough point in my life. So those are just a couple of stories that we've experienced very recently that I'm glad to be able to share.
How do you think your father would comment? What if he came back, what would he say about your program and what you are doing for the community? That may be a bit emotional for you, but he'd probably come back and say he's Joel, right?
Yes.
You need to share that little bit of information, which I found very humorous.
So my dad's name is Joe, or was Joe. Joseph was his name. And but after he died, I realized that all of his artwork, all of his friends, everything was Joel. And I think it was something that he kind of resorted to later in life, maybe to escape some of the things from his past. He was in intelligence. My dad spoke 5 languages fluently. I think Joel was just this of him just being someone different. So we went ahead and decided to name it Joel. And I even had someone recently, his very good friend from Florida just passed away. And I saw on Facebook, someone said, be sure to say hi to our Navy SEAL friend, Joel. And it was just a really cool reminder of, that's what people knew him as. So we decided to call it the Joel Fund. And I totally forgot what the first part of the question was. I'm sorry.
What would he say to you for establishing this?
So that was good. I'm glad you had me shift, because when I started this, it was because I was filled with regret. Everything I did, every relationship was to try to make it better, because I didn't know what my dad was going through. I didn't know what the signs and symptoms were. I didn't understand. And I will say that part of that was because he didn't share with me. But knowing the good that we've done this past year, and even the years prior, but specifically this year, I feel that regret starting to leave me. And now I'm just fueled by the fact that we're doing really good things. I think he would tell me that I need to let it go.
Gee, what a surprise that men don't share their feelings. Do you find, different needs between we have so many female veterans now. Do you find the different requirements and needs? I mean, I can't imagine the burden that they have, especially those that have served in the last 20 years with with childcare and everything else that typically is fallen so much on the women.
Yes,
Do you find
absolutely.
certain specific needs that female soldiers have? Um,
Yes, there's the needs are very different. And so we work closely with the Women's Health Department at the VA. There's a lot of groups locally that serve female veterans, and so we have relationships with them. And it's, it's I will mention it's not just, raising families and stuff, but women in the military deal with MST, military sexual trauma. And I mention it because it's something that needs to be talked about because it's not okay. And so these women need their needs coming out of the service. For those who have experienced that sort of thing, they need different. Their help looks different than other veterans.
Now, as you look to the years ahead, are there, I guess it's kind of like what's on your wish list, or what unmet need do these families have that you would like to work towards to fulfill, or partner with another organization that could meet some unmet need? You've already talked about you're providing furniture and things and helping people in the homeless arena.
Mhm.
Are there other areas,
See,
education, or?
I think, for us, our wish list is to grow the current programs that we have. But another thing that we do because of the relationships that we've built with organizations across our area is we started a community veterans engagement board. It's a VA connected, it's called a CVEB, and it's VA connected, but it's run by the community. So we started this CVEB a little over a year ago, and our goal with that is to get the organizations in our area talking to each other, sharing what they've got going on, how they're serving veterans. If we don't have that communication, sometimes you have duplicated efforts. You know what I mean? So it's really good that we talk together. So, excuse me, part of my wish list moving into next year is to grow and expand on the CVEB and to further develop it and get more local organizations involved in that, because it's really important that we are connected and that we discuss what's going on. Because if another organization is working with a veteran, say for employment, but that they learn, okay, well, they don't have a job and they also need a connection to food, they refer them to the Joel Fund for produce. So, having that connection locally is imperative. And our mission with the CVEB is to identify gaps in service at the local level. So
Yeah.
that's very simple. But that is what we do with the CVEB. And we're really working to continue to grow that.
We are coming up on the end of our time slot. Is there any last comments that you'd like to make? And for the audience there, if you like this program, please share and follow us, retweet it on Twitter, retweet it on Facebook, and all the different platforms there, so that people can see this and can contact Brooke for this. But Brooke, your last thoughts?
I just want to say thank you to Scott and to PAX and AARP for giving me the opportunity to share my dad's story and to tell your community about the work that we do. I really appreciate it.
I think you've got a fantastic program here, and in so many ways can serve those that have served us. So thank you, and to all of your organization for doing this. And with that, we will end the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.